Hey everyone, I am Baron Baptiste, and we are tearing down the walls of mediocrity and building a community of excellence and challenging the drift, that default drift towards mediocrity. This is where we not only confront, but transform the default state of humanity and society. It's not just about hearing the truth, but we are all about living it. So I am here with David Masters. How are you, David?
Always better with you, my brother.
Yeah, it's good, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I was playing around with the mission of this podcast. And I think what's right here for me is each episode of Disrupting the Drift, we're going beyond the surface, just the ordinary, the surface of everyday thinking, living. We're here to unearth the potential that lies within the ordinary, which opens up something extraordinary.
Yes.
It's a call to awaken, to step into a life of deeper purpose, truth, and personal preparedness in life. The question we have today that someone sent in fits right into that context of preparedness. We'll get to that. But I want to invite people, be a part of this transformative journey with us. Subscribe to the podcast, whatever platform you're listening to, whether it's iTunes or Spotify or yada, yada. But turn on the notifications, be at the forefront of change here with us, and share the show with your friends, your family. Let's create a ripple effect of growth and empowerment in a troubled world. The world needs this kind of conversation. So we appreciate you sharing the show and being a part of the change for positive, the change for a better world. Your support is our strength. Leave us a 5-star review or hit the like button. If you're watching on YouTube, you can watch us on YouTube. These podcasts are dropped twice a week on YouTube, the Baron Baptiste podcast YouTube channel. It's a new channel on YouTube. Check us out there if you want the visual. But I want to hear from you, your questions, your stories, your breakthroughs, your comments, your feedback, any of it. Send it to disruptingthedrift@baronbaptiste.com. This show thrives on your contributions and your participation. Expanding the reach. We are about expanding the reach. So remember, you can also, through sharing the show and putting the word out, you sharing questions or asking questions is a part of being a part of this journey with us. So, David, we have a question. So, want to dive in?
Let's
Ready
do it.
for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Baron, you've always emphasized the importance of staying ready now, both physically and mentally, before any challenge or opportunity arises. So in today's rapidly changing world, how can individuals train and prepare themselves without a specific purpose in mind? That's interesting, to train and prepare without a specific purpose in mind. Could you share your insights on maintaining peak physical fitness, mental health, and continuous self-development to be perpetually prepared for any situation, be it opportunity or adversity? That's good.
Great question. Fantastic.
Very good, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What say you? What do you see?
Simple, super simple, although it's very complex to the average person who is looking at it from a mindset of struggle. And what Confucius said is, he who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. Now, what that really boils down to is this, is that the world is, in a sense, like a giant competition. But the person that you are actually competing with more than any other person is you. Now, I shared with you a dream that I had, and I'll just put it in a nutshell if I can.
Mm-hmm.
In my dream, I was in a huge competition starting at the top of a beautiful snow-covered mountain, and there was a man with a megaphone laying out the rules and all the rest of it. And I said, you know what? I don't want to hear this. So I launched on my snowboard, and I went down this mountain at the fastest speed I've ever done, deep turns, and it was just amazing. And then all of a sudden, all these people noticed that I had gone ahead and launched, and they started following me. I get to the bottom of the snowy covered mountain part, and it's all foliage. It's like a dense forest full of ferns. And I started running, and I was running faster than I've ever run before. And I ran, and I saw people trying to keep up with me. But at some point, I realized it wasn't about those other people. I had been capable at this point of running, at snowboarding, doing everything faster and better than ever. And then at the end of the foliage, without me knowing it, there was a cliff. There was a drop off, 1,000-foot drop off. And right as I got to the edge of that cliff, rather than going over the cliff, I jumped as far as I could and I flew. And that was the end of my dream. But what I realized was that nobody else mattered in that race. It didn't matter how many people were pursuing me, following me, trying to win, because the only person I was in competition with was me. And there's a part of us that is self-defeating. There's a part of us that holds us back, and that's fear and doubt and even envy and comparisons and belief systems. You and I have talked a lot about BS, belief systems. And so when I saw this Confucius quote, it made so much sense to me. He who conquers himself is the mightiest of warriors, because the thing that we have to conquer is within. It's not on the outside. It is our beliefs that we don't have what it takes to make it. It's our belief that we don't even have a focus for our mission. But if you are actually beginning any process of development, if you're in that process of preparing, it doesn't have to have a specific focus. Preparing is preparing. In other words, when you get home and you're about to make dinner, you look in the refrigerator and your mind will coalesce around, hey, look, I got this, I got that. And you start to make something out of it. That is life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think that dream symbolizes? It's
Freedom.
very interesting.
It symbolizes freedom, not waiting for somebody to give me permission, not wanting to play by other people's rules. I didn't care what the man on the megaphone was saying. I saw the field of snow before me, and I said, I'm going to take that field of snow. I'm going to run that field of snow. I'm going to carve it deeper and harder and better than I've ever done it before. It was so natural, something that like was released from worrying and waiting and allowing somebody to define the rules for me. And I went, and then I found my power. I found my personal strength, and I found the ability not to fall at the edge of the cliff, but to fly. And everybody has that potential. And I want to say, listen to your intuition, because your intuition comes from another realm. It's not confined to the things that you know, and it's not confined to the things that you haven't yet discovered. And by the way, intuition means knowing without reasoning. It's a whole realm in and of itself, and it will bring you to new places that you never even imagined. So that's what it means to me. It means freedom. It was a totally freeing dream. Now, when I woke up in the morning, my back, I usually have back aches. My back felt good. I felt like I'd released all this tension from realizing that I can, whatever it is that I put my mind to, I can.
Yeah, man, I love that. I love that. It's amazing how the brain and the psyche and whatever it is working even while sleeping. It's like the subconscious doesn't need to know what we're actually doing in a moment, but it's still working towards something.
Yes.
Toward freedom, toward truth.
I have been
toward that essential self that
I've been looking for an answer.
Yeah.
And what's weird about answers is that you don't know what the answers are. Because you don't know what the questions are. But you do have the question, and the question is, what is the answer? See, that's the power of a question like that. What is the answer? Because what will happen is an insight will be delivered to you about the question. And when you have that delivery of an insight about a question, and it's just as simple as, what is the answer? How do I overcome whatever it is that I'm facing? That is the essential question. That is what opens the door to the unfolding of insights that lead you in a direction. There was a great Cadillac commercial of a car that drove down a road that was paved as the car was driving. Do you remember that commercial?
No,
There was a road that was paved right ahead of, so it could go anywhere it wanted, because in that drive, the road was unfolding right in front of the car. To me, that was a very inspired commercial, because that's life. You don't have to have a plan for everything. As a matter of fact, if you have plans for everything, your planning could potentially be what's in your way. So you have to step back and look at the plan and say, is this plan really viable? Does this plan make sense? Where did this plan come from anyway? What is the genesis of this plan? Why do I believe that this plan is the plan? So spiritually, you know what, you have to be released. There's a saying, release and you shall be released. What are you holding on to? Last time we talked about the bricks that we keep putting in our bag. I call it a suitcase full of bricks. Put down the suitcase full of bricks. You don't need it. Because every one of those bricks in that suitcase has a word on it, and that word is somehow holding you back, whatever that word may be. It could be a plan. It could be resentment. It could be self-doubt. It doesn't matter what's on those bricks that are in that suitcase. Just drop the whole suitcase. You don't need it. All it is bricks holding you down. Now what will happen is a whole new mindset will coalesce within the construct, which is your spiritual self. Like the holodeck on Star Trek, there's a spiritual self in which, like the dream that I had, it was so vivid. It was like I was there. Literally, I was there. And so at the edge of the cliff, though, when I realized I was at the edge of the cliff, I didn't just, okay, I'm going to fall. I jumped. I leaped. And I was like a guy with a wingsuit on. I was just flying over the tops of trees. That's where the dream ended. There was no limitations on me being able to do whatever it is that I could potentially do. And I've taken that with me now for 2 days. My back stopped hurting. It's weird. It's like I've released a whole load of stuff that I was holding on to, that suitcase full of bricks.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I get it. Okay, let me give my sense of this question, what kind of comes here for me. So let's break it down a little bit. The part that jumped out of me for this question is training. So training without a specific purpose in mind. So there's being physically, mentally, and all that, spiritually prepared for no reason at all, no purpose at all, other than it's a purpose in and of itself, you could say. But this is what I want to say about it. Training without a specific purpose is not aimlessness. It's about being prepared for anything. Life is unpredictable, as we all know. Life is unpredictable. Life is uncertain. Certainly, the current state of the world, the conditions in which we're living in the world right now, is a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unpredictability. And I would say on all fronts, what is daily life going to be looking like? What is, if we go into a world war, how will that impact us? Are we talking about fuel shortages and food shortages and the banks going broke or collapsing? What could happen in the economy? There's all these questions. So being prepared for anything is really being prepared for life. And life is unpredictable and it's uncertain. And you don't know what it's going to throw at you. You don't know what life's going to throw at you next. So you need to be ready at all times, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually too. First, I want to just talk about physical fitness a bit. Your body is your vehicle and temple. Treat it like one. That means consistent training, moving, breathing, doing what you need to do to take care of your body. Your body is designed to move. The kind of food you're putting into your body, your diet, the kind of mental diet you're taking in, stress levels, pressure levels, living in drama and stress and disempowering stories, it puts a burden on the brain, the biology, physiology. You feel it. People are all locked up they're wearing their shoulders like earrings. They're locked up. They're grinding their teeth into dust in their sleep. The body absorbs everything like a sponge. There's plenty of studies now that show we actually hold emotions in our bodies. So I like looking at the whole person when we're talking about physical fitness and health. It's not mind-body. It's just mind-body. And so This means consistency, consistent training of your body, developing what you have, minimizing what you don't want, meaning if you have in your family, in your genes or in your family history, you've gotten certain conditions, or you want to like really pay attention to everything, the way you live, sleep, all of it. And the spiritual is a big component on one's physical fitness and health, I say. So it's about discipline. Do yoga, walk, run, get out in nature, lift weights, push your limits every day. The body needs healthy stress. It's not about looking good either. We're not talking about looking good. It's about being strong, resilient, and ready now. Come from ready now, but be ready. And now let me just say a word about mental health, because this is crucial. And again, right now, I keep saying this, but yeah, there's a mental health crisis in the world, in the US, it's all over the place on a lot of levels. And your mind controls everything in your habits. Consider that. Your habits, things we do on the daily, it's training or using your mind as a tool rather than letting it run rogue and it turns into a weapon that turns on you. Train it like you do your muscles. Meditate, take in. What are you taking into your mind through social media? Are you taking in conversations or dirt, gossip, news? It's just too much of all that. You want to be putting your attention and keeping your attention on learning and discovering for yourself about yourself. Stay present, stay current with the times and what's happening in the world, but mentally have a scene in your mind of a compelling future. So it's like what you're taking into your mind, and you're also in this kind of space of curiosity, inquiry, wonderment, where you're learning about yourself. Every moment, consider every moment in life, every moment you have the opportunity to discover something about yourself and how you're living, how your outlook, how you interpret events and situations and people and yourself, the meaning you give things. Stay present. It's a big one. And to have a vision of a future. Was it Jesus who said people without vision perish? And to have a vision of a future, it's not like a goal. It's more what I'm talking about anyway. You can have goals, fine. Fulfill on goals that are leading you toward a vision, but maybe that's how the goals fulfill on the practical level this scene, this vision. Maybe you envision yourself sharing with others or leading others or being a great leader or a great boss or a great employee or great team player, whatever a great partner or husband or wife or father or mother. Have a vision of who you want to be. That gives some kind of measure. So when you're falling short, you can find a way to recover center and true north, your true north. But I think all of that keeps the mind sharp, aware, and adaptable, flexible. We talk about the importance of physical flexibility, but I think mental flexibility. Notice how you get rigid, or you're rigid in certain areas of your life. You're trying to over control because really at the heart of it, you're in the experience of being out of control. A lot of super controlling people, in my experience, are at the core, they're in the experience of feeling out of control. So then there's this manufactured, superficial, imposing control and dominance over others when it's a kind of, what would you say, a kind of projection. That's not the word I'm looking for, but a kind of compensation. That's it. But looking for ways to keep your mind sharp, aware, living awake, adaptable, flexible. And look, one truth that I've discovered over the years and working with thousands of people is that human beings tend to live like they live rigid. They treat themselves, their bodies, their identity of self as a fixed object almost, others and life as a fixed object. But here's the truth I've learned is that human beings fundamentally are malleable. You can transform your life really anytime. It takes discipline. It takes a surrender of the past. And first, we make our habits and our habits make us. It's giving up habits that are undercutting your true power and freedom and peace.
Can I add one then?
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea of a comfort zone, you've heard the expression stuck in a rut?
Yeah.
Where people go back and forth and they wear this rut in their world. And so here's a quote from Rashida Ryan Rahman. He says, "Your comfort zone is a place where you keep yourself in a self-illusion and nothing can grow there." Now, the problem that we have is that when we think about training and we think about the future, there are a lot of things that we can't see ahead. There are things that are daunting to us. And you were talking about being ready in case food supplies are interrupted or whatever it may be. I think a lot of people actually have these thoughts, but then what happens is the comfort zone lures them back into thinking that'll never happen. So there's a degree of doubt that we have. So even when we want to get out of our comfort zone, you could actually stand in a store somewhere and say, I'm going to get some extra canned food. I'm going to go and get extra few things every time I go to the store. And something says to you, but why? Nothing will ever happen. So you have this, again, this duality of self. The one part of yourself that says and begins to look forward and knows that every little thing that you do actually accumulates in an hourglass of some sort. And then the other part of you that wants you to keep you, maybe it's the ego, maybe it's the id, I'm not sure. But there's a part of you that wants to keep you in the status quo. And the status quo is the comfort zone is good enough. Everything's okay. Why change it? Why change something if it's just okay? But the fact is, and this is what Orson Scott Card said. He's a famous author. He says, true leaders bring out your personal best. They ignite your human potential. So are you surrounding yourself with people that inspire you? You talked about this on the last vlog, Baron. You said that you had friends that you were hanging out with that inspired you. Are you around people that make you feel like you want to be a better person, that make you feel like you have the ability to look forward? Maybe if it's just a day, to look forward to see what may happen, what could potentially happen tomorrow. Here's another great one too. It says, here it is. The essence of training is to allow error without consequence. And here's the other thing that we always get caught up in. We always think we have to do things just right. And actually, there's no such thing as a definition for just right. Actually, it's a work in progress. Every moment of every day is a potential altering moment that changes a course somewhere. And so forget about doing everything just right. And just start with the one thing, the first thing that you see. Begin to get rid of the clutter and all the stuff and all the back of mind thing is it's going to be okay. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. Don't change your eating. Don't go and exercise. Because what will happen is if you don't get real about how important every little thing that you do or don't do is, if you don't see the value of that idea, then everything that comes also passes and it can leave you behind. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
You know what comes to mind, that brings to mind for me is, and this is practical, but it's also the skill development. This is where a lot of people fall short. They wait for an opportunity to learn something new, to develop something new. They want the new job. They want to start teaching. They want to start leading. They want to start putting their voice out in the world. Whatever it is they want to do, be a better parent, grow into a new career trajectory, but yet they don't have the job opportunity. Yet skill development people wait for an opportunity to learn something new, to develop something new, but that's a wrong approach. Learn now, develop yourself now, especially in those areas that you want to, you feel called to, maybe your conscience, your intuition is pointing to something, develop yourself now in those areas. Pick up new skills, challenge your brain, be curious. The more skilled you are, the more tools you have in your toolbox when life throws a curveball or an opportunity. Yeah, because it's not just about being ready for adversity or difficulty or challenges. It's about being ready for opportunity. Opportunities don't wait. They don't care if you're ready or not. If you're always training, always learning, always discovering for yourself, always ready now, you won't have to get ready when the opportunity or the adversity comes your way. You'll be ready.
Yes.
And that's the
Yes.
conversation we're having here and in response to this question. But remember, the hardest walk, here's another part of it, something I've learned. The hardest walk you can make in life is the walk you make alone. But that is the walk that makes you the strongest. So let go every day and push yourself every day, physically, mentally, skill-wise, and be relentless. It's in the consistency. It's bringing the discipline. And I like using the word discipline is being a disciple to your highest self, being a disciple to your best self, being a disciple to something greater than yourself, your creator, the creator of the universe, God. There's something else. I don't want to brush over the spiritual part, because in addition to physical fitness, mental health, self-development, the role of spiritual readiness and connection with one's inner self or a higher power in staying prepared for life's challenges, to me is the foundation of all of it. We've talked about physical strength and mental health and resiliency and skill building, but this layer of spiritual readiness, or this dimension of spiritual readiness, this isn't, and I'm not speaking about religion per se, if you're a part of a religion, great, I'm not speaking to any specific belief system, but it's about connecting with your inner self, but the self with the capital S, self. And your God self, the part of you that's beyond the physical and mental, and something beyond you, a power greater than you. So spiritual readiness to me is about knowing who you are at your core. It's digging deep. It's letting go. It's dropping the old ways of being and acting and habitual patterns that you know undermine and sabotage. It's digging deep and going beyond the surface, beyond just the ordinary. And it's understanding your purpose or your drive, or what's guiding you, leading you, what makes you tick, what makes your heartbeat tick, what makes the universe tick. This isn't easy, but it requires quiet. It requires solitude, even in the middle of a busy street, reflection, and honesty with yourself. Know the truth, and the truth sets you free, will make you free. And then there's living from this connection, physically, mentally, energetically, developing skills that, it's about aligning your actions with your deeper spiritual purpose. Every step, every decision should be in tune with this inner truth. So when you live from this place, you're not just reacting to life, you're moving with intention. You're moving from a power greater than yourself. And I love that saying, I think it's from the Bible, if God be for you, who can be against you? Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah. One aspect that I think also is necessary for the spiritual component is this idea that you have to practice anything in order to personalize it. In other words, you can watch other people do it. Now, you and I both love surfing, and we love snowboarding. I watch other people, but it's one thing to watch people do things. And again, it's an interesting form of mental preparation to watch how other people do things. But the minute you get to the practice of it yourself is when it becomes real for you. And then there are nuances that you can begin to work with. And I want to say about practice. Look, we've practiced who we are right now our whole lives, right? But what if there's another life waiting for you to live? And I believe that everybody has a potential for two lives, one that is successful and one that will not be successful. And you have to actually step back long enough, be objective enough in this practice of learning how to be still and know, basically. This is the scripture that says, be still and know that I am God's your back. The forces that brought you into this world will tell you how, when, where, and why to be who you potentially could be if you give it that opening. But without the practice of learning how to get quiet and learning how to focus your mind and learning how to drop that bag of bricks that has all those words on it that you've learned and you've become all these words that are in this bag of bricks, that's why it's so hard to drop, because you think you're in that bag, but you're not. You have an everlasting, eternal spirit, and that spirit needs to be able to fly and be free before your days are over. And our days are all numbered. So practice the presence, practice being in the present, and personalize your relationship with the things of the practice. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're an artist, if you're a musician, practices to make things perfect. An artist does the same thing. Doesn't matter if you're a writer, you keep writing. You just have to practice to personalize. And I think that's a PowerPoint right there, Barry.
Yeah, that's a pretty good PowerPoint.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's very good. The stillness, right? Practices like meditation.
Yes.
Getting quiet.
You ever watch people do the exercise where they move very slowly? What's that called?
Tai Chi.
Tai Chi.
Yeah, I did that a lot.
Beautiful to watch
when I was a kid.
Yes.
My mom used to drive. I was obsessed. There was this amazing Tai Chi master.
Yeah.
I grew up in San Francisco, right in the city. Chinatown was about probably 15 minutes from the house I grew up in. I used to beg my mom, and she was great about it. She would drive me, not kidding, 5 mornings a week down to Chinatown. There was a park at and 6 a.m. might have even been 5:30 a.m. but like early 5:30 or 6 a.m. This master from China who lived in Chinatown in San Francisco, he would just lead. He wouldn't say a word. He would just lead these Tai Chi classes. And he had his little son he was probably, the son was a little bit younger than I was. So I was probably around 10 or 11, I want to say, pretty young. And his son, the Tai Chi master's son, was probably 7 or 8. But that was a lot of inspiration for me because the young son was right next to his father going through these movements with such grace and power. And they were so rooted from their, like the core of their body and energy right down into the earth. It was all about rooting and pulling energy up. And they moved with such flow and grace. And I was obsessed with that for a long time until I then got into more like aggressive martial arts like Kung Fu and then eventually Taekwondo. I was a black belt in Taekwondo. I don't know if I've ever told you that. I won California state champion.
What? You never told me that? Wow.
The Taekwondo. Yeah.
That's unreal.
When I was probably about 17 years old. And I won that championship and I walked away from the sport, from the, that martial art. I never did it again after that. I won and I was done. But it was amazing training. Anyhow, that was a side note.
That's a wonderful story, though. It really is, because you talk about a teacher who teaches without instructing, only by example. This is all of us, though. This is all of us. And by the way, here's another quote for you. You must train regularly, and there are rarely any shortcuts. You can't shortcut your training. You can't think about training and have training. You actually have to train. And and the place that you actually begin is that one moment where you say, I like that. That appeals to me. I I identify with whatever it is that you're saying, whether it's music or sports or taekwondo or any of these things. You begin with the first step toward it. And that's where everything begins to change, because then your body and your mind begin to sync up. And you always talk about dropping down into your body. This is a powerful thing, to drop down into your body. I only learned about that from you. Nobody ever said that to me.
Yeah.
I only learned about that when I went to one of your seminars, and you said, drop down into your body. I never thought of it before, but we're not in ourselves. We're extensions of our environment. This is the problem. Practice to personalize. Get out of that, allowing other people to give you that information to be who you are. Begin to take back the control over that.
Yeah, that's where I know when I say that one of the hardest walk you'll make is the walk you make alone. People don't like hearing that, because they want to be about community, or they need a accountability buddy, or and it's no, at the end of the day, this is on you. Back to the example of when I was a kid going to Chinatown, and yet this master and his young son would go through the movements, this whole sequence, and it would take about 45 minutes, I want to say 45, 50 minutes. But there would be about 200 or 300 people that would show up. I was one of them. And it was, again, they didn't teach. It was all silent. But everyone that gathered around in that park, you could hear a pin drop. No one spoke. The presence, it was like a clearing for being present, for discipline, for attentiveness, but also alone. You're alone, okay, and you're together. But what I learned from that is that master was leading, not because he didn't even make eye contact with people. He was showing up every morning with his son and going through his practice. And then people just very organically gathered around him. They figured out, okay, this guy's there. He wasn't putting up posters or flyers or advertising on social media. Oh, meet me, here's a group meet. No, this guy was just showing up, and he just had a presence and a power about just that one discipline, Tai Chi, and raising energy. And people showed up, but they showed up in a way that was for themselves. And then others naturally gravitate around each and every. The energy naturally just arises, and it's attractive. It's attractive because I think at the heart of people want discipline.
I will end on one story that I can share with you about the future. Okay.
Yeah.
Training and preparing without a specific reason. 17 years old. My dad has a boat. We go out sailing out to this island near Catalina. A storm comes up. It's a terrible storm. The waves are 50 feet with whitecaps 5 feet on top. We wait for the storm to calm down. We turn around. We go back toward the harbor. And we get into the harbor, but the waves that are breaking in the harbor are so big we can't go into the harbor. So we have to go down to a different harbor 3 miles away. And my dad says to me, take over the wheel. Take over the helm. I got to go down and check the ballast because there was water in the engine compartment. And when that happened, it was the perfect moment. I had been surfing since I was 11 years old. I understood the different cycles of what they call sets with waves. And the minute I took over, I looked out on the horizon and I saw these huge waves coming at us. And we were in very shallow water. We were maybe, I want to say 400 yards off from the beach. And the waves were breaking pretty far out. In that moment, I realized one thing. I had to turn the boat toward the waves and go over the waves. I had to do that. And just as the right moment, I turned the wheel. The boat went up over. This is a 37-foot boat. Bang. Now, had I not had that training in surfing for those years before that, I wouldn't have recognized those big giant swells that were coming in called sets. And we would have all died. We would have all drowned because the waves were probably 20 feet. And the boat would have been flipped, and my little brothers would have died. Everybody on the boat probably would have drowned. That's the kind of training that you get prepared for by the things that you do that you personally love and that you embrace as a value to you. Just do what it is that feels right. And then one day you will see the reason for it. That's what I wanted to share with you.
Yeah, you'll see the reason in opportunities that present themselves and you're ready for it, or in adversity, difficulty, challenges. You'll be ready for whatever life throws at you.
Yep.
And just I'll wrap up with just saying building the spiritual muscle, spiritual strength involves resilience. Life will test you and me, all of us. Life will test us, not just physically or mentally, but in your faith and your purpose, your true north. So you need to be anchored in something deeper and greater than just the physical world or just your intellect or smarts. Practices, again, meditation, prayer, spending time in nature, but get connected with the spiritual aspect of the essential self. And it's about finding stillness in the chaos, listening to the inner voice that doesn't speak in words. It's like, to me, it's like prompts or something. It just shines a light, but there's an inner voice, and having a listening for that inner voice, but it's a voiceless voice. And strengthening your faith in difficult times or in times when you have no purpose is the time to strengthen your faith in yourself, your capabilities, your competencies, but in living and moving, breathing, having your being from your center, the ground of your being. And when your body is strong, I'll finish up with this, but when your body is strong, your mind is sharp, and your spirit is unbreakable and aligned to something greater, that's when you're truly ready for anything, opportunity or adversity. Whether it's opportunity or adversity, you won't just face it, you'll grow from it.
That's right.
It's so,
You will
I'll leave
overcome.
it on this.
Yeah.
Overcome. Yeah. Or disappear it and walk right through it. But aim true, you all. Aim true. Stay connected. And stay true. This is the way, man. So thank you all. Thank you, David. And just keep disrupting and rising above the drift, you all. Challenge the norm and create a new narrative for your life. So we're signing off. Stay true, stay bold, stay blessed. And let's rewrite the narrative of our lives from right here. Rewrite it in a way that serves what you were born for. All right. Peace out.